Oh boy, this post. Please.
Do not do this. This is not good advice.
Hi, and thanks for tuning in. If you want to become better at writing, there are two major things you can do right now to finally start taking the craft seriously. First of all, subscribe to the channel so you never miss any new writing content. And second, come join me live at twitch.tv/bex_streaming, where we'll be talking about your problems with writing and what you can do to improve. Because this is what the channel is about. It's not about me, it's about you. And with that, back to the video. So this video is going to be about writer's block. Those moments when you are trying to go after your creative task and you are not able to continue your work because you are just blocked. And I want to talk about those situations because I myself have been in those situations quite often. We all know that there is a plethora of ways to writing a story, but what if it doesn't start at all? You have an idea in your head and you're writing a paragraph and you delete it right away. And this is not a stream or a video in which I will tell you like those 5 tips to overcome writing block or those 10 techniques to get back into writing. There are so many people giving advice on the topic of overcoming those blockages, but sometimes they don't work. Sometimes it's not just continue writing. Sometimes you're just not able to do that. And that's okay. It's okay to realize at any given point in your endeavor that you are maybe not able to do this right now. And many people put so much pressure on themselves to be successful. I think many people start writing because they have a story that they want to tell. They want to reach people. They want to convey their own emotions. They want to convey what they feel and what they have experienced in their life. And sometimes this is such a difficult thing to do that it freezes us. Instead of accepting that it is that way, instead of trying to figure out what is going on, why I can't continue my writing, we are trying to force ourselves to do it. And I think there's a lot of advice on the internet that makes us feel like a failure if we're in that situation. So this is what I want to talk about. I think instead of looking for techniques to stop that, I think we need to look at why is that so. I have prepared a few posts from Reddit that are talking about writer's block and that are asking for help. I want to go over those posts and read them and try to analyze and try to see what people are feeling, what they are thinking when they're stuck. The title is Writing is much, much harder than I thought it will be, which is true. I started thinking about writing a short novel for the first time 2 months ago. I've always been an artist, so I thought writing would be faster than drawing. I don't expect the final product to be good at all because I have no experience, but I'm happy with trying and getting the story completed. Well, I didn't expect that deciding the outline of the story would be so difficult. I have a sense of what I wanted the story to be, but trying for it to make sense and to be interesting, as well as the characters having agency, conflict, direction. When I start to write something, 1,000 unresolved questions will rise. It's like trying to seal a leak with your hands and 2 more appear. This is something I can really relate to. You have an idea and you start writing. And once you start and you've established a character and you've established a location and you thought of something tenseful to happen, something interesting to happen, you will run into so many problems. What about this person? What about their parents? What about the world, politics? There are so many things in the back of our mind that we think we need to think of. Let me say that again. There are so many things in the back of our minds while writing where we think we need to know how they work. This voice in our head can not only discourage people, it can also lead to people being just overwhelmed. And I think that's what this person here in the Reddit post is trying to say. It's such an overwhelming task. Oftentimes, there comes a situation where you feel like you have to know all that already. And even if you write an outline where you know, all right, I have that many chapters, I have a beginning that sounds like this, I have hooks, I have an ending where I aim to go towards, you will still have those moments where you do not know what is going to happen and where the voice in your head will start to manipulate you. One of the ways to not give into that voice too much is to realize that you do not have to know all of that stuff. You do not have to know the book before you write the book. And oftentimes, solutions appear in the moment you need them to appear. writing can be extremely overwhelming. I started writing yesterday, and after 4 hours, I got to write 4 pages of pure nothing, bare bones stuff. 4 hours. The first draft of the first chapter is not even finished. And this is me with no pressure about it turning out good whatsoever. Let's talk about this. 4 hours of sitting down and writing, that's something that's really intense, and that's something that's work. Feeling like you've achieved nothing, like this person writes, I think that's not true. All the times you spend actively sitting down on your computer and writing, you will learn to grow in that craft. You will become better. So what I want to say is you've got to be a little bit careful in judging yourself too harsh. And there was a time where I didn't have much energy or much time to write myself. And during those times, I had the discipline to tell myself I'm going to write 1 sentence every single day in the evening. Just 1 sentence. And if it's only 1 sentence and I am done after that sentence, that's okay. That's fine. That's perfectly fine to write 1 sentence and stop. I started with that, and for 1 week, it really was just 1 sentence. For 1 week, I just wrote 1 sentence every day in the evening after work before I went to bed. And after a week, 1 sentence helped me to write more. It wasn't just 1 sentence anymore. And it ended up with some evenings where I wrote 2,000 or 4,000 words. And other times where I still said to myself, okay, I can just write this 1 sentence. I'm so out of energy, I'm so emptied, but I can write 1 sentence. If you're taking your time in the evening and telling yourself, I want to write 1 sentence, that's nothing that is very difficult to achieve. Take out the pressure by just saying, I'm gonna write a sentence. I don't have to be the next insert famous author here. I just have to write 1 sentence. That's my job for the evening. I write 1 sentence. And if I've written that 1 sentence, I'm done. If I'm having fun in the process and I decide to write more, sure, I'll go ahead and do it. But if not, if I feel like it really sucks, I will still write that 1 sentence, and then I will close my laptop and shut it down, and I will say, yes, I've written 1 sentence, I'm not happy with it, but it's 1 sentence more, and this 1 sentence leads to another one and leads to another one, and I don't have to write a novel like in a day. This will pick up. So what does this person say? So I just wanted to say mad respect for all the writers out there, professional and hobbyists. It is insanely difficult and a lot of work to actually create a story in written form. What are the first walls you encountered when you started writing? Does it become easier with time? When I decided I want to be a writer, I was, I think, 20 or 21. I have written before, but that was the first time where I decided I want to become a writer. The first walls I personally encountered, I wanted to write everything. I would start a story, and after a couple of months of writing that story, or maybe even a couple of weeks, I would get bored of the story because I didn't know where to go, because I just started writing, as people say, by the seat of your pants. After 2 or 3 months, or after 2 or 3 weeks sometimes, I had another idea. And a new idea is always shiny and cool. So I ditched my first story and I wrote something new. And this continued so often that I have many stories that I've started and that are at different lengths and that I've stopped because I couldn't keep the motivation and discipline up to continue writing. Writing is something where there, for me personally, are no boundaries. I don't think you should set limitations to your own writing. I think it took 8 years. I think it took 8 years until I sat down and said, okay, I need to stop what I'm doing. I need to look at that stuff that is called outlining, and I need to learn that shit. And I realized why what I did not work, because I was trying to adapt the style of somebody that wasn't mine. I was having the idea of how to write a great story because someone told me that this is the way, but in reality this was their way and not mine. And let us take a look at another Reddit post. How do writers deal with writer's block? I am incredibly in love with writing. I love my writing. I mostly do it for myself, but I never get to finish any of my works. In all my time reading, I probably have about dozens of stories that I've planned, readied, and said, this is the one I'm finishing, before losing interest and never doing so. I just want to finish this one story I've been working on, but I don't know how to deal with the writer's block. This is like a description of the first 8 to 10 years of my writing. I don't really know if I would say that this is a problem with writer's block. This is a little bit different because there's a new thing. You realize and you see and you want to ditch what you've actually been working on and pursue like the new thing. What I would advise a person with that difficulty is to be able to say, I want to learn finishing stories. I can write down the idea, the shiny new idea, in a notebook or somewhere else, and once I've finished this story, I can check my notebook and start a new one. Writing it down is something that helps us get it out of our minds. If you don't get it out of your mind, it will always nag at you. And I think it has something to do with discipline, continually believing in yourself and believing in what you started. At one point, you were highly invested in the story you're writing right now. But at that point, everything seemed easy. You had an idea in your head and you knew where to start and you knew what message you wanted to convey and you knew where you wanted to go and what you wanted to happen and what scenes you wanted to write. And after time, when you start working on your novel or working on your story, you realize all those difficulties. Writing is sitting down, doing a job, and consistency is key. I want to look at one more post here because, oh boy, this post. Please do not do this. Listen to me. Do not do this. This is not good advice. Let's take a look, shall we? I overcame writer's block by drinking 3 pints of cask ale quite quickly, and then I realized something. Alright, there have been authors who advise people to take drugs and who have written stories completely high, and it did work out, but is it good advice? I don't think so. If you're ever watching this, I hope you're well and I hope you're doing different things to overcome writer's block. I stood at a high table in a pub and was unsure of what I was doing with my evening. I drank 3 pints in total of exceptional beer. It was after my first pint that inspiration hit me. I pulled out my laptop and began writing. I'm wondering that if alcohol helps you overcome inhibitions, then writer's block is perhaps a type of inhibition. Is it, I wondered, a type of shyness, a fear of putting yourself out into the world, a preference of staying in the shadows and away from the dance floor? And what I wrote was actually quite good. I've been cogitating over this scene for months, and then I didn't care if I got it wrong. I just had to write it, and so I did. What do I have to say? Do not exchange your health for a addiction. It's not a good deal. Not a good deal at all. You'll just numb your mind and you'll numb your critical voice. That's like treating symptoms instead of treating an actual health issue. It's not addressing the root problem. The problem here is that there is a voice in the back of your head that doesn't want you to continue your writing because there's something telling you it's not good enough, you're not good enough, people won't like what you write. And I think that's normal. I think that's something that happens to everybody doing creative work, especially if you have like a more difficult upbringing, parents that didn't support you or maybe even did the opposite, but using alcohol to numb that voice might not be the best idea. No matter what you do in life, there will always be people disagreeing with you. And I do think that it is very important to realize that that is okay. As a writer especially, you don't have to win every reader. You don't have to write a story that pleases everyone. You can't. It's not possible. You'll have to write something that you want to write, something that you would also like to reach, and that reaches just a certain audience that does enjoy what you do. And of course, constructive criticism is something good, but it's not your job to try to write something that pleases everybody, and you will fail in that endeavor. There's no book that only has followers. There's no story that only has people admiring it and liking it. And realizing that there will be people that do not like what you write, and being okay with that is a very important step in becoming a better writer. If you listen in too much of that own voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough and your writing is not good enough, you will stop. Writer's block does come from a situation in which your critical voice might be too harsh on you. And for some people, it might be important to not actually listen to that voice, but to take a look at that voice and take a look what is criticized and maybe also who's talking there. People are in so much fear of the critic going to be true. Find a way for yourself to continue doing what you love and finding people that support you. The things that your parents or whoever told you when you were younger, they don't apply to you anymore. You can do this, you can write a story. And I think so many people do have stories to tell, but we are expecting perfectionism of ourselves. And that's something I've been dealing with so much, and that's why live streaming for me is actually so good. I can't escape. Of course, I could turn off the stream and all that, but it's live. I can't escape. I will start rambling. I will lose my words. I will not be able to continue talking for some time maybe. And that's okay. That's fine. That's how life is. I don't have to be perfect. In the beginning of the year, I was trying to start my first YouTube channel. And on that channel, I wanted to write short stories and upload them as audiobooks for that channel. And I was so stuck in perfectionism. I think it took me like 3 months to create that one story, which was 15 or 20 minutes long. I wasn't able to put out something that isn't perfect. And that's why live streaming for me is so good, because I can't hide behind perfectionism. I'm not perfect. I will do mistakes. I think that does apply to writing as well. When you're starting to write and you're writing a first draft, you will make mistakes. Alpha readers will see those mistakes and they will point them out to you, and they will say to you, okay, I didn't like that, or I stopped reading on that page and I didn't continue, or all that stuff, which is very hard to hear. But if you want to become a writer and if you want to finish a story, you will have to deal with that. Find people that encourage you while still being able to criticize you. Get rid of your own ego in that situation and realize, okay, this person wants to help me. They want to help me get better. Of course, it does hurt to read that they didn't like it, or to read that they stopped after 3 pages and didn't read the rest of it. That can be really hard, and I've experienced this on my own. The thing is, it's your first draft. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to put out a novel in a day with your first draft and have it the perfect thing. You don't even have to write a good first novel. You just have to learn the process and learn loving it and realize that critique is good in a certain form, but the critique we put on ourselves with our inner critic mostly isn't that good. I wrote some stories, goblin stories. That's cool, man. It fits, of course. But like, they are lame. I just wrote them and spoke them on my YouTube channel because I thought they were funny to me and was just sharing. I don't think that's bad. I don't think we as creators of stories are the best people to judge if our stories are good or not. You've put in the work, and critical voices should come from a group of people that have an idea what writing is about and that want to encourage you in general. People who are bold enough to say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to let my fantasy flow and I'm going to write something. No matter how long it is, no matter how many words, no matter how cool or not cool it is, I think that's in itself a cool thing to do. The best way to overcome that writer's block is to just talk about it, to talk to people that are close to me. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's stream. Thanks for being here, Goblin Storytime. Thanks for supporting me. I think it's pretty damn cool. I'm very grateful. I will stream some games from time to time, I guess, but I will mostly stream about writing, about fantasy, about stories and all that stuff. That's what I feel. That's what I'm passionate about. Thanks, and I guess I'll see you next week.